Live from Brisbane, 7 News with Samantha Heathwood.
Good afternoon. Our top stories on 7. A man and woman killed in Brisbane's southwest. A crime scene declared. Police search for answers. Asbestos shock. The race to contain the contamination threat. Clive Palmer promises to spend millions in the compensation fight over COVID vaccine mandates. And Prince William pulls the pin while the royal missed an important engagement. Good afternoon. Homicide detectives are investigating the deaths of 2 people at a home in Brisbane's southwest. The bodies of a man and a woman were discovered yesterday evening. Garth Burley reports.
Good afternoon. Investigators are combing through this Doolandella property where the bodies of a 34-year-old man and 29-year-old woman were found around 7 last night. Police made the discovery inside the home after receiving a call for a welfare check. Today they confirmed the pair were known to each other and there are no other suspects in their deaths, suggesting this is an act of domestic violence. Neighbours say the people who live at the home are involved in the car trade and say they've never had any issues.
A bit of a shock, mate, so close to home here where we're working every day.
I'm feeling shocked as well, I mean, this is a nice, quiet community and, things happen like this, it's like a big shock, we don't know if we're safe or not.
The clear message at the moment is just to assure the community as well that we're not looking for anyone else that's involved in this. And we do want that appeal that if anyone has information that could assist the investigators, if they could come forward to police.
2 men who also live at the property are being questioned by detectives but are not considered suspects. Police wouldn't be drawn on the nature of the injuries or whether a weapon was used. This home is expected to remain a crime scene over the coming days. Police say their immediate focus is confirming the identity of both victims.
And if you're in a domestic violence situation, DV Connect can help on 1800 811 811. There's also help for men who are in danger of using or experiencing domestic violence. That number is 1800 600 636. Queensland authorities are scrambling to contain the potential spread of asbestos-laced compost after it was discovered at an Ipswich waste facility. Rosanna King's son, at least 25 businesses have been supplied with potentially contaminated material.
Yes, Sam, those 25 businesses have received compost material from the New Grow Ipswich facility since the 2nd of February, but it's not yet known how many of them received materials from the contaminated stockpile that authorities found last week. They did precautionary testing after the asbestos crisis in New South Wales, taking 23 samples from southeast Queensland sites. 4 samples from the New Grow facility detected positive for asbestos, and 1 was found to have 2 small fibres in it. Authorities have now issued an emergency precaution to New Grow and they are trying to work out the source of the contamination. This is what they had to say a short while ago.
We issued an emergency direction to New Grow in order to contain any further movement and require a range of testing before any material can be moved off-site. It's a very precautionary approach that we've taken here to understand what the level of contamination is on site and whether that contaminant has migrated off-site.
There are 25 entities that have received product from their stockpiles.
And one of those is an independent school, which authorities won't reveal the name of just yet, but they are working hard to get to the source of this problem. They say that of those 23 samples, they're still waiting for the results of half, and that is expected on Friday. In the news at 6, Sam will have an update on the expanded testing authorities will undertake to ensure this hasn't gone any further.
Rosanna Kingson, thank you. Well, Sydney workers have held down a gunman after a man was shot in the CBD. It's understood 2 men in their 70s had a disagreement inside the offices of a law firm next to the Greek consulate. A 77-year-old was shot in the groin. When police arrived, they found a 79-year-old suspect being held down by staff members.
At this stage, he's not assisting. We don't know his full details. We're doing everything we can to work it out right now.
Police say the victim was shot with a small calibre semi-automatic pistol and was quickly treated by paramedics. He's now in a stable condition. A landmark legal victory for police and ambulance officers who refuse to be vaccinated for COVID could pave the way for a compensation fight. As State Political Editor Marlena Wapp reports, Clive Palmer says he'll bankroll further legal action.
Well, Clive Palmer says he spent upwards of $3 million on the legal battle involving police and QAS staff, and he's willing to spend more money if needed. A class action could now be in the works as lawyers weigh up the ramifications from yesterday's Supreme Court ruling, which found the way decisions on vaccine mandates were made breached part of the Human Rights Act, specifically the directions by the outgoing Police Commissioner, Katarina Carroll. For ambulance staff, the orders by then Director General John Wakefield were also found to be ineffective. Dozens of police and QAS staff have been involved in the legal battle for more than 18 months and they're feeling vindicated. Lawyers will be going through the results with a fine-tooth comb to see what, if any, action can be taken to claim compensation. The Premier, though, is strongly defending the use of the vaccine mandate.
The steps that we took to keep Queenslanders safe were the right steps and they worked. And I'm very proud of Queensland's response. If you recall back, in other places, other parts of the world, thousands of lives were lost. I, for one, want health workers who believe in science and believe in vaccines.
Lawyers for the government are now looking into the judgment to decide what next. They have 28 days to lodge an appeal.
A man has been rescued after becoming trapped under a grain silo in central Queensland. Emergency crews were called to a property in Arcturus around 9:30 this morning. The man in his 30s was buried in grain after part of the silo collapsed. He was pulled to safety around 11:30 and flown to Rockhampton Hospital, where he remains with significant leg injuries. There's been a fresh outpouring of grief following the discovery of the bodies of Sydney couple Jessie Baird and Luke Davies. A vigil was held overnight as floral tributes grow outside the Paddington home where they were killed. Robert Avadia reports.
Well, it's now 9 days since police allege Jessie Baird and Luke Davies were shot dead in this Paddington terrace behind me. Their bodies were found yesterday, and that sense of finality has been a crushing blow, not only for their friends and families, their neighbours here, but also the wider gay community in the eastern suburbs. We still see a constant stream of mourners here to pay their respects. The floral tributes are growing, not only from people who are friends, but equally people who didn't know the gentleman but are just so affected by what happened.
We have kids just a little bit older than these guys, so it's just tragic. Parents with broken hearts.
Also affected by this, of course, is the New South Wales Police Force. This has come as an enormous shock. It is hurtful to many of them, and in the words of an inspector, they wanted to demonstrate with this investigation, with getting a result from the family, that what Beau Lamar Condon is alleged to have done does not represent the force.
It sends a shiver right throughout the whole of the New South Wales Police Force. They don't expect one of their own to commit an alleged murder, but at the end of the day, they do their job, and they demonstrated that by being so dedicated to this search and finding the bodies.
In tandem with the homicide investigation is a critical incident investigation where police investigate police. Here, a police officer is alleged to have murdered two men. The critical incident investigation will examine not so much what happened here, but why it happened and how it could have been prevented. That will include looking into Beau Lamar Condon's background.
Cost of living relief has been locked in for households after the government's Stage 3 tax cuts passed the Senate last night. Political reporter Ben Downey explains the change and when taxpayers will see the benefits.
Not until July 1 will Australians see changes in their pay packets, but the government is hoping voters will reward it at the ballot box this weekend with the cuts passed in time for the Dunkley by-election. The Melbourne seat is precisely the middle Australian area both the government and opposition are targeting. Under the changes, each voter earning less than $150,000 will be better off than under the original coalition plan, with all taxpayers, even those on high incomes, set to receive a cut. with any earnings between $18,000 to $45,000 taxed at 16% instead of 19%, and earnings from there up to $135,000 taxed at 30% instead of 32.5%. It's a prospect the Greens nor the opposition wanted to stand in the way of, waiving the changes through the Senate last night, around a month after the Prime Minister broke his election promise that they wouldn't be changed.
People know that this was not an easy decision, but it was the right decision done for the right reasons. And it's good economic policy as well.
Australians will be very pleased to receive whatever they can in their pockets right now, but they won't forgive the Prime Minister for the lie that he's told more than 100 times since the election.
Independent Senators Bob Katter and Andrew Webcke took a different approach to the cost of living crisis this morning, dressing as pigs representing Coles and Woolworths with their snouts in the trough, while pitching draft legislation that would see the supermarket's power reduced. The Prime Minister pivots now directly to the by-election mode, with recent polling showing the opposition is gaining ground in Dunkley.
NRL Chief Andrew Abdo is convinced Sunday's historic season opener in Las Vegas will be a success. More than 35,000 tickets have already been sold. Jaleesa Apps has more.
Well, it was touchdown for the NRL here in Vegas this morning, the first of the league's official chartered flights landing here in Sin City.
It was so nice to come over here with a plane full of dedicated fans. There was a great buzz on the aeroplane.
On board, the game's power brokers like Andrew Abdo and Peter V'landys, also former NRL players, and even the NRL trophy was carefully transported, along with the game's most important stakeholders, the die-hard fans themselves.
I just don't know where to start. It is just going to be awesome.
I've been a Rabbitoh supporter since I was 7, so it's good to see that history is being made.
The Vegas experiment is all part of a bold strategy to grow the game long term here in the States, but it is a slow burn. Just over half the tickets have sold to Allegiant Stadium.
Well, it's a long-term strategy, so it won't be an overnight thing. But to be at 35,000 tickets, I think is a good, strong signal.
The NRL is backing itself in this for the long haul, having committed to bringing the game to the States for the next 5 years.
We know Americans love American sports, but we know that there's an opportunity for rugby league to become their second, third, fourth favourite sport, especially with the time zone difference and the time of year.
Well, as for the 4 teams here in the States, they are enjoying a day off today. The Roosters, Rabbitohs and Broncos will fly into Las Vegas tomorrow, while the Seagulls will hit the training field again.
Now have a look at the weather, Tony. A stunning sunrise to start the day.
Yes, Sam, we're alternating between some sunnier and cloudier days at the moment, and today has seen plenty of blue sky. All started with this vivid sunrise over Brisbane. It was a slightly cooler night for many spots before maximums pushing up into the early 30s for most areas again. Ipswich, Greenbank and Canungra all dropping to 19 degrees overnight. Toowoomba, a similar mark before a cooler maximum today around 28 degrees. The extra elevation there usually helps take 2 or 3 degrees off compared to those coastal spots. While it's all quiet on the rainfall front over southern Queensland today, there's a bit more happening up north. Some heavy falls near the Whitsundays overnight, with some showers lingering there at the moment, then some heavy showers and storms up in the tropics and also continuing further inland. Sam, I'll be back soon with tomorrow's forecast.
Thank you, Tony. Well, a high-profile punter arrested on the Gold Coast. Coming up, we're there as Eddie Hayson is flown out of Queensland. Emergency declared as a massive fire erupts at a factory. And Prince William's mystery no-show, how the palace has responded.
Tonight in 7 News, asbestos fears. Has contaminated compost been used in public parks? Big tax cuts confirmed. How much you'll pocket? Your first look inside Brisbane's new casino. 1,000 jobs up for grabs. Plus the puppy scam families can't see coming. 7 News at 6.
A high-profile gambling identity has been flown from the Gold Coast to New South Wales to face court on serious charges. Eddie Hayson is accused of importing huge amounts of methamphetamine and MDMA. Jordan Quinn reports.
Good afternoon. He's known as one of Australia's most prolific gamblers, but now Eddie Hayson is an accused drug supplier on a commercial scale. This morning, he was extradited to New South Wales to face 3 serious charges. After being arrested on the Gold Coast yesterday, Hayson is now in the hands of New South Wales Police. He was marched through the airport before boarding a flight to Sydney. How have the last 24 hours been? The 55-year-old is accused of directing a criminal group supplying a commercial quantity of drugs across the country using private planes and encrypted mobile phones. Yesterday, detectives raided a Burleigh Heads apartment building, seizing a computer which will likely help police build their case. Hayson touched down in Sydney early this afternoon and is expected to face the Downing Centre local court tomorrow.
A factory in the West Bank city of Hebron has gone up in flames. Dramatic video shows the moment the blaze erupted overnight. Emergency crews struggled to put out the fire due to its intensity. Surrounding neighbourhoods were evacuated, with the flames spreading to nearby properties. It's not yet known what sparked the fire and no injuries have been reported. Prince William has pulled out of an event at the last minute because of a personal matter. The heir to the throne was due to attend a memorial service at Windsor Castle for his late godfather before he cancelled. His Europe Bureau Chief, Heathwood.
The Prince of Wales was due to give a reading at the memorial service for King Constantine of Greece, who was also Prince William's godfather. His absence, though, has only been explained by Kensington Palace as being due to a personal matter. We understand it's not due to the death of Thomas Kingston, the husband of one of William's distant cousins, Lady Gabriella Windsor. It's also unclear whether William couldn't attend due to his wife's ongoing recovery from abdominal surgery. The Princess of Wales is said to be doing well, but Adelaide Cottage, where they live with their 3 children, is not far from Windsor Castle. Queen Camilla was in effect the host for the day, the King continuing his cancer treatment, having returned to London, but a fair smattering of European royals, including the Spanish King and Queen and VIPs from around the world. In the spotlight, though, the Duke and Duchess of York, Prince Andrew alongside his ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson. They still live together. They were leading the royal family pack into St George's Chapel. We are told, though, they were attending in a private capacity.
Coming up, 1,000 jobs on offer. The Star launches a major recruitment drive as we take a sneak peek inside the Queen's Wharf development. And in sport, the Broncos' new baker ready to cook the chooks in Vegas.
On 7 News, pet lovers targeted by scammers. The clever con innocent families can't see coming.
Makes me feel sick, to be honest.
Plus, the common habit increasing the cost of running your car, draining your battery, cutting its life. And the solution is simple. 7 News at 6.
The Star Brisbane has launched a massive recruitment drive with 1,000 jobs on offer. Today we were given a first look inside the Queen's Wharf development. This is the staff dining room, seating 600 people and serving 3,000 meals a day.
This is a brand new facility. There is state-of-the-art technology right throughout the building, and I think it's going to be a real experience for anyone joining the company working here.
The multi-billion-dollar precinct is expected to open towards the end of August. Where we see with sport, the fans have arrived in Vegas. What about the Broncos?
Not until the end of the week, Sam, where they are set to unleash a new-look team on the Roosters. Alyssa Smith is with the team in Los Angeles. Alyssa, Brisbane will come armed with inside information.
Webby, their new recruit packs a punch on and off the field. Former Roosters prop Fletcher Baker. The 24-year-old reckons coming up against his old side is a perfect matchup. After 3 years in the chook pen, inside intel's left him confident Brisbane's got the Roosters covered.
Kevy did some video today and they're pretty spot on about all the shape on that, so I think we're pretty well planned and we just got to execute. So everyone knows that they're a bit of a bully team and they play hard and they just always play through the middle.
One of 3 new faces from last year's grand final, Baker will be coming off the bench. 2 more sleeps until they leave this peace and quiet behind. They'll hit the glitter strip of Las Vegas on Friday, your time, Webby. Then they'll have 1 more training session to get it right.
Thanks, Alyssa. Well, he might call himself the forgotten Lion, but not for much longer. Groin surgery ruined last pre-season for Jared Lyons, the 31-year-old, stuck in the VFL, where he won Player of the Year. But long hours of rehab, digging deep, the midfielder fought back to be part of the Brisbane's final series as a sub.
Probably just didn't have that fitness base to play AFL for 4 quarters. But yeah, as I said, I haven't really missed since the grand final, and basically done every training session and put myself in a good position.
Lions and the Lions are in Sydney ahead of tomorrow's final trial against the Swans. Australia will play the same 11 stunned by the Shamar Joseph-inspired West Indies at the Gabba last month in tomorrow's first test against New Zealand at Wellington's Basin Reserve. Aussie captain Pat Cummins isn't concerned by the grassy pitch, but will consider bowling if he wins the toss.
Coming from Australia, it's rare to turn on the TV and see a green wicket that looks like the turf here, but I don't think it's as scary as perhaps what it looks. Seems like there's been plenty of first innings scores that have been big.
Kiwis haven't won a home test against the Aussies since 1993. Sam, plenty more sport at 6.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Webby. Well, it's time to see what's coming up in 7 News at 6 and our Gold Coast Bulletin. Sharon and Steve are here. Good afternoon to you both. Sharon, we have the latest details on the South East's asbestos scare.
Yes, Sam, after contaminated compost was found in Ipswich. Tonight, the search will uncover how far it might have spread. Has it been used in public parks? Also, we'll tell you about the common habit that could be draining your car battery. What's the simple solution to extending its life and saving you money? And pet lovers are being targeted by scammers. We reveal the clever con families can't see coming. It is very cruel indeed, Sam.
Oh, that sounds terrible. Yeah. Thank you, Sharon. And Steve, we have new pictures following an attempted abduction at Tweed Heads.
Sam, it was the terrifying moment a woman was forced to hide for her safety. We'll have full details at 5:30. Also, how puppy power is helping a young Gold Coast boy who lost his sight and hearing. And a starstruck restaurant owner's brush with fame. What happened when Chris Hemsworth turned up at Carrara? Did he pay the bill? We'll find out at 5:30.
Well, hopefully he got to eat. Thank you, Steve. And thank you, Sharon. Our Gold Coast viewers are off to the chase now. Then join Amanda and Steve for your local news at 5:30. And of course, Sharon and Max at 6 o'clock. For the rest of Queensland, residents fed up with youth crime. Victims speak out. We're live to the Bayside next. The fresh health benefit from eating your greens. And later, how to plan for an early retirement.
Live from Brisbane, 7 News with Samantha Heathwood.
Our top stories this Wednesday. Homicide detectives are investigating the deaths of 2 people at a home in Doolandella. The bodies of a man and a woman were discovered yesterday evening after a welfare check. At least 25 businesses have been supplied with compost potentially laced with asbestos. Queensland authorities are scrambling to contain the potential spread after it was discovered at an Ipswich waste facility. And Prince William has pulled out of an event at the last minute due to a mysterious personal matter. The heir to the throne missed a memorial service at Windsor Castle for his late godfather. Bayside residents fed up with soaring youth crime are right now preparing for a community meeting to discuss the issue. Rachel Baxter is there. Rachel, what are locals hoping for?
Good afternoon, Sam. Well, this afternoon's meeting is all about hearing from victims and hopefully finding some answers about this escalating youth crime crisis here in the Redlands. On Sunday, teen hoons crashed a car into a power pole, resulting in a citizen's arrest. Also at the weekend, multiple reports of break and enters and thefts. People here are fed up, they want answers, and they just want to feel safe in their community.
When you have people that want to take the law into their own hands because they just don't trust that there is laws and people there to help protect them, you then start putting out there that they can themselves become the criminals. And we can't have that. We need the police to be supported. The police are trying their best. The laws aren't supporting them.
And that is Bianca Kemp there. She is a local, one of the organisers of tonight's meeting, which will kick off in about an hour's time at 5:30. The father of Matthew Field is also attending. It's been 3 years since Matty, Kate and their unborn son Miles were killed walking their dog. They were struck by a stolen car in Alexandra Hills, a teen behind the wheel. This spiralling youth crime crisis isn't just here, it is of course right across the state, and I have a feeling, Sam, that tonight's meeting, while it is the first here, certainly won't be the last.
No. Rachel Baxter at Alexandra Hills, thank you. Well, homicide detectives have wrapped up their search at Bungonia, New South Wales, after the bodies of Sydney couple Jessie Baird and Luke Davies were discovered there. It marks a turning point as they build their case against accused killer Beau Lamar Condon. Leonie Ryan has the latest.
Good afternoon. Well, 24 hours ago, this road was closed. It has since reopened. Riot Police and the dog squad spent hours this morning searching the crime scene, trying to look for any clues against the accused killer. Jessie Baird and Luke Davies were killed. Their bodies found yesterday afternoon after their accused killer, Beau Lamar Condon, shot them both with his police-issued Glock in a Paddington terrace last week. Despite initially refusing to tell police where they were, after police searched sites at Paddington, Newcastle, Bungonia and Grays Point, he finally told them after meeting with his lawyer at Silverwater Jail, where Lamar Condon is being held on 2 counts of murder. Police raced to Bungonia and found the 2 men whose bodies were inside surfboard bags. Shortly after that, Jessie's family arrived at the crime scene to view the site. Forensic police spent all night here taking pictures and bagging evidence so they could be forensically examined. Now, everything seized today at this site will form the brief of evidence against Beau Lamar Condon when he faces court in the coming weeks.
6 Melbourne men have been arrested over a $15 million illegal tobacco bust. The men have been charged with trying to import 10 million illicit cigarettes into Victoria.
It will be alleged in court that 2 of the accused were what we call trusted insiders. We will allege they had access to internal shipping and transport systems and attempted to use their positions to evade law enforcement detection.
The arrests follow a 16-month-long investigation. There are fears Victoria's catastrophic bushfire emergency could become even worse this afternoon as temperatures rise. As Blake Johnson reports, a strong wind change is bearing down.
We're starting to hit the danger zone weather-wise for this fire. Winds here are really starting to pick up after what was a very quiet and calm morning and early afternoon. We even had some rain around lunchtime, but this gusty wind is picking up and so too are the temperatures. They are into the 40s in the Wimmera region where fire conditions are catastrophic and gusts are expected up around the 80k mark. It is currently a north-northeasterly wind, but what concerns firefighters is the incoming wind change, sometime between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m, where it will shift to a westerly wind and could push the fire outside containment lines. The perimeter of the Bayandine Rocky Road fire is about 160 kilometres. It has been contained this afternoon, but it is still burning, and with this wind change comes the risk of lightning. About 30,000 people in towns west of Ballarat have been told to get out. It is unclear exactly how many have taken that advice, and it's been an hour-by-hour monitoring situation for firefighters, of which there are 500 on the ground and about 20 water bombing helicopters ready to go.
What we are preparing for is if there is any movement in this fire, if it breaches control lines, we'll be actively communicating to the community about that, and that will be a watch and act, likely an emergency alert.
3 relief evacuation centres have been set up here in Ballarat, also in Ararat and Maryborough, and the Langikalkal prison, a minimum security prison, has been evacuated as a precaution.
The National Breast Cancer Foundation is celebrating its 30th anniversary as the country's largest not-for-profit supporter of breast cancer research. Associate Professor and CEO Cleola Andrews joins me now. Cleola, thank you for your time. How has the foundation helped to improve the breast cancer survival rate since 1994?
So since the National Breast Cancer Foundation was established in 1994, through the generosity of the Australian public, we've actually invested over $200 million into over 600 research projects across Australia. And in that time, the death rate from breast cancer has actually reduced by 40%. And that hasn't happened because of good luck. It's happened because we've invested in research and we've applied those research findings into clinical practice.
That really is a phenomenal result. So what are some of the key research projects the Foundation has been a part of?
So at the National Breast Cancer Foundation, we've actually supported in this time 1,800 researchers across 120 research institutes to undertake research across the continuum from basic biology all the way to the translation of research into clinical practice. Some of the really meaningful impacts that we've had includes funding research which have brought new drugs into treatment and care for people with breast cancer. And these include treatments for some of the more difficult to treat subtypes of breast cancer that we see, such as triple-negative breast cancer.
It has been a remarkable 30 years, so what's planned for the next 30?
So we're building on these incredibly strong foundations of these amazing researchers we've funded over the last 30 years. And the National Breast Cancer Foundation has just released its new 5-year research strategy, which seeks to invest up to $125 million over the next 5 years to focus and accelerate our research efforts and look at things that, such as how we better prevent, detect and stop and treat breast cancer.
It's such an incredible organisation. Cleola Andrews, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Let's take a look at finance now, and it's been another flat day for Aussie shares. Here's Laura Bezerati from CommSec.
Good afternoon. Well, it certainly was. The Aussie market basically ran on the spot today, ending lower by just 2 points. In fact, for 6 of the past 8 sessions, we finished fairly flat, and that's partly due to dozens and dozens of companies that have come out with half-year results, which have been mixed overall, with roughly half of the companies trading higher and half lower following their results, and that's largely left our market unchanged over the course of the month. In terms of company news, Flight Centre was under pressure today following the release of its results, despite saying they've experienced their second best start to the year. A number of other companies losing ground today were those set to pay out dividends in the coming weeks. Fortescue was one of them, paying $1.08 per share on the 27th of March. Also towards the end of March, eligible Telstra shareholders will receive 9 cents per share, and Woolies is set to pay out 47 cents per share on the 11th of April. Finally, the Aussie dollar is slightly lower, buying 65.1 US cents. Have a lovely night.
Australian researchers have discovered surprising new health benefits from eating broccoli. An insect-fighting chemical was found in the superfood that can help prevent stroke. The compound triples the effectiveness of stroke medication and helps stop blood clots from forming. An incredible story of survival coming up. A tourist helicopter crashes into a phone tower. How everyone inside was saved. And an Australian honoured nearly 80 days since the deadly D-Day campaign. 80 years.
On 7 News, pet lovers targeted by scammers. The clever con innocent families can't see coming.
Makes me feel sick, to be honest.
Plus, the common habit increasing the cost of running your car, draining your battery, cutting its life. And the solution is simple. 7 News at 6.
There's been a remarkable escape for 6 people on a helicopter that crashed in Colombia. The chopper had taken off on a sightseeing flight from a helipad on top of a building in Medellin when suddenly spiralled out of control. It became wedged between a building and a mobile phone tower. One of the passengers phoning his father to say goodbye.
Dad, I just got in a helicopter crash. I'm stuck in a building and I'm really high up. I love you. And I just want to say thank you so much for taking me under your wing, Dad. I love you.
Incredibly, everyone on board got out safely with the help of local residents. Advocates for tougher parole laws for convicted child and serial killers have celebrated the Parole Board's decision to deny a notorious Noosa murderer freedom for a further 10 years. Barry John Watts was jailed for life for the abduction, rape and murder of Noosa schoolgirl Sian Kingi in 1987.
Queensland has signed a petition in support of Sian's family and friends, calling for tougher laws to ensure monsters like Sian's killer, Barry John Watt, never see the light of day again.
Noosa MP Dan Purdy's campaigning led to Sian's law, which can indefinitely deny child killers from applying for parole. 2 D-Day veterans have met for the first time nearly 80 years since the start of the critical World War II invasion. 99-year-old John Roberts and 98-year-old Stan Ford were honoured for their bravery on the Normanby beaches.
8 decades ago, these men helped change history. So many shared memories, though this is the first time they've met.
After 80 years.
It's a case of, what have you been doing? What have you been doing?
John Roberts and Stan Ford. D-Day veterans. They weren't much more than boys back then. June 1944, and the largest seaborne invasion force ever assembled.
The whole coast was ablaze with bombs, rockets, guns. I was lucky. One of the other destroyers next to us was torpedoed and sank within 5 minutes. I can remember bracing my knees and holding on to something just in case we were hit as well.
This summer may be the last time veterans visit Normandy for the ceremony of remembrance. For Stan, it's simply his duty.
It is an honour to go back and to be in the presence of the names of where my friends perished, where they didn't survive.
31 of his shipmates were killed by a German torpedo, and he was grievously wounded. Today, the two men were awarded plaques to add to the wall of names honoured for their part in D-Day. Comrades in arms, newfound friends.
One of those 13 names added to the wall was a member of the Royal Australian Navy. Sub-Lieutenant Richard Peary from Melbourne was part of the first wave of the Allied invasion of Normandy. He was the first Australian to be killed on D-Day when his boat was hit by enemy shell fire. It was his 24th birthday. So to come on 7's afternoon news, why Queenslanders are retiring earlier than planned.
Tonight in 7 News, asbestos fears. Has contaminated compost been used in public parks? Big tax cuts confirmed. How much you'll pocket? Your first look inside Brisbane's new casino. 1,000 jobs up for grabs. Plus the puppy scam families can't see coming. 7 News at 6.
Good afternoon, you're watching 7 News. Checking the weather now, and our run of dry weather has continued across southern Queensland today. Mostly sunny skies across the southern half of the state, while some heavier showers and storms have been dotted across the tropics here and down towards Bowen and the Whitsundays, where we saw some heavy falls overnight. Onto the forecast chart, not too much change. We still have a humid air mass triggering those showers and storms right across the tropics here. It stays mostly clear over southern Queensland, though we could just rustle up enough instability to see a couple of storms over those far southern ranges and over southern Australia. While a cool change moves in, bringing a little bit of relief after some heat and nasty fire conditions in Victoria today, though the hottest air remains trapped ahead of that trough into New South Wales, and you can see that on the national forecast here. Sydney up to 35 degrees, with western suburbs nudging 40. Canberra, you can expect a top around 34 degrees, while Melbourne's looking at 25 after reaching 36 today. Back home to Queensland, in the north, storms remaining for most inland locations and up into the Gulf. That includes Weipa and Mount Isa. On the east coast, wet weather continues to contract north. Early showers easing in Townsville, but they'll hang around all day for Cairns and the North Tropical Coast. Over southern districts, afternoon storms developing around the Granite Belt, heating up to 31 degrees in Stanthorpe. Otherwise dry with some patchy cloud around. Rockhampton 33, Gladstone and Bundaberg 32. In the southeast, another day where we could either say partly cloudy or mostly sunny. I think the mostly sunny will win out. A touch warmer as winds turn northerly. 22 to 32 in Brisbane, 34 in Ipswich. Sam will have the full forecast coming up at 6.
Mostly sunny, my favourite. Thank you, Tony. Well, Australian seniors claim they're being forced into retirement earlier than expected. The cost of living crisis has seen many return to part-time work to counter inflation, with a new magic number for how much you need to survive older age. Angelique Opie has more.
Well, 40% of Australians are retiring earlier than expected. Many have enough funds to do so. Other reasons include health concerns, their job doesn't exist anymore, or they are taking on the role of carer.
Often women are the ones that are taking on the lion's share of caring responsibilities in Australia. That choice can have an impact on their financial security in retirement.
While a comfortable retirement depends for each individual. The recommendation from Australia's peak superannuation body is a single needs $595,000, $690,000 for couples. But from the cost of living squeeze, these goals aren't attainable for some, with seniors being forced to change their plans.
And some of them, they've retired and then they've realised, my gosh, my money's running out. I need to go back to work.
When it comes to financial planning, the earlier the better. The advice is forecast your income during retirement, looking at what your super and pension will be. Experts also say don't forget the power of compound interest. Starting immediately is key, even if it is just a small amount.
Well, that's Queensland's 4 p.m. news for this Wednesday. Stay with us now for The Chase, then 7 News at 6. I'm Samantha Heathwood. See you tomorrow.